Like I remember sitting in my grandma's place in New York and listening to Level and was like, and I was just sitting there at work, like listening to all these interviews. And then I was like, oh, what if I did this with electronic artists? And then I felt like, it's so cliche, but I literally was like, why isn't anyone doing this? Like I felt like a light bulb, like someone needs to do this. I felt like a light bulb. For the Sidewalk Talk interviews, I first started it on my other page where I interviewed a lot of like Hong Kong supermodels, because at that time I already knew like a bunch of people in the fashion industry. Yeah, and also Olympic athlete. So I worked in Hong Kong for a year, and then I asked my boss, can I come to Hong Kong? Can I come to LA? Alright, an intro?
Yeah, what's up guys? We're about to start walking.
Wait, this is too far. Your hand's too long. Okay, try it out now.
Now?
Yeah.
What's up guys? We're about to start walking a marathon. It's gonna be a 18-hour video, so...
Jeremy, wait, tell this wrong. So we tried to have my brother hold this, but it was just
apparently my forearms aren't good enough, so...
And he said this was heavy and he's really strong, so you know guys, I work out for this.
Yeah, it's really heavy camera.
So
today we're gonna be interviewing the infamous, it's okay, Lauren Engel.
This is my brother Jeremy.
Yeah, we're gonna dig up some background information about her. All those good things, bad things, average things, mediocre things, so...
Probably skip about the mediocre things, too boring.
Yeah, so we'll hear about that, and shall we get started? Where's background, where are you from, history, macro details please.
So we were born in Hong Kong. Our dad's American, our mom's Chinese.
That's from New York.
Yeah, and
whoa.
pretty much lived there our entire life.
How were you like growing up?
Well, first like in primary school, I don't know if you guys know this, but I played a lot of netball. I was actually pretty good at sports growing up. It's like basketball, but the hoop's way smaller and there's no backboard.
So how about high school?
High school, I was kind of a nerd, right?
Yeah,
like
you were really nerdy. You were just in the library.
I like studied a lot in high school. Like a lot. Like all I did to study, or I did a lot of sports. I did a lot of swimming and tennis, but swimming was my main thing. I was actually like the fastest swimmer in high school. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you swam a lot because you put in so many hours.
Yeah.
You swam with
like so many hours per week.
High-teen.
That was just like the local swimming camp that I trained at. Yeah, I competed in butterfly and freestyle, and butterfly was like pretty good.
You should show your fans the video of you diving into the water.
I was such a bad diver though. Like I would just like I was just so scared to like release my feet and like spring out, but then I would catch up and like beat everyone after.
How about your favorite subjects?
I really liked geography and design, tech, and business. These were, I did the IB. So like comment below if you guys did IB.
Investment bank,
no, International Baccalaureate. I really like geography because it was just like a study of cultures. It's kind of like what I feel like I'm doing now with music. It's like I really try to study more of like the culture and the idea behind why they produce what they produce. What I did, and also did lots of like trips to like Borneo. My school was in Asia, of course, so we did a lot of school trip to these countries and a lot of research kind of and studying.
Did you do some charity stuff?
Yeah. I was also really into like environmental stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like I was the president of my environmental club.
Oh yeah.
And then there's this thing called like British Council in Hong Kong, because like Hong Kong used to be British. And then they actually sent me as like a Hong Kong representative to go to China and like learn with all these other people in China about the environment. It's actually what I did a lot in high school, like a lot of conferences. I don't know if you guys can relate, but like still now I'm like so wary about the environment. I don't even know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Don't even let me use any garbage bags in your place. And recycle brand bags.
Yeah. I hate buying like real garbage bags. I just use recycled ones. I was also like randomly really into shot put and discus. So actually my arms are really strong, that's why I carry this.
Oh yeah.
One day I just competed it and won the school like
oh yeah. Because you're on
school
steroids.
champions.
How about photography? When do you start photography?
I remember asking my parents for like a red Olympus camera.
Yeah.
And if you remember it.
Oh, the first one you...
Yeah, it was like the point and shoot. I think that's what people call it.
Yeah. You started with me, right?
Yeah, I used to shoot my brother a lot, like just in the corner of our living room.
With an AK-47. And then you moved on to shoot people in
Yeah.
school.
And then I think one time I like saved up for Canon. You actually have it now. I gave it to
I
you.
inherited it.
I inherited it. Like Canon 500D. Yeah, it was Canon 500D. And back then I was like, whoa, these pictures are so good compared to the other ones. Because back then we didn't even have cell phones, so I mean now it's like blows your mind less, but then I was like, these are so sharp.
Yeah.
And I remember we went to like Dubai and Oman with that camera. And then the blue skies came out so blue, and the architecture, everything looks so nice. And even when I photographed the people,
and then you went to Dubai and we went into Oman. We went to the desert and the sand got into the lens.
Yeah, so
literally when you spin the lens, it was like
it was the worst sound. Like there was this kind of like a little sandstorm, like kind of with the sand, and then I just broke my lens. Yeah, don't ever bring your camera to the desert, or like know how to get your like the gear material. Like buy some bag or something to cover it. Don't be like me and then I'd bring it to fix it. But actually, I still use that lens now to shoot my events because it zooms really far. And then I started shooting a lot of my classmates, and then people like refer like photogenic people from the other, like I was in international school.
Oh yeah.
And then referred them to me, and I shot like so much. And then I also first I was really into like color grading. That's why some of times you guys comment like you like my color grading on these videos. Like that's my number one thing. Like I love color grading because I did design tech in high school. So once I got my hands on Photoshop, I'm like, how do I edit like this? So
the world is limitless.
And so the first photographer that like, oh my god, even her pictures are so amazing to me now, but Narimi, she's from Australia, and she wrote a blog before, and I don't know, her pictures just have so much meaning and story to them, and I love the color grading. So I took months like just trying to learn color grading. I stayed up so late at night on my Photoshop just trying to figure it out. I started shooting like agency models. Like I went online and then I saw like there are like 7 agencies in Hong Kong that were pretty good. Actually 5 were pretty good, the rest were like
stars.
Messaged all these models on Facebook and was like, I'm starting out, can I shoot you? Looking back, those pictures are really bad. Ugh. But I got so much experience and they're so nice to shoot with me. I had a team back there. Like I already knew, like this was when I was 16 or something. I already knew like stylists, makeup artists, and it was the most grueling, satisfying but also annoying thing ever because I had to like arrange everyone and then people bail. That's why I learned how to do styling myself, but it was just so annoying really when people like bailed. And also to put together mood boards, sometimes talk to their agents about it, like if I want to shoot with them. I did that for so long, that's why the portfolio is mad thick now.
Where do you think you got your creative side from?
It's weird because our parents aren't really creative.
Pop's pretty creative.
So our dad does like minerals, like sells minerals for a Swedish company, which is completely unrelated to
but I think
anything
he's
I'm
pretty
into.
creative.
Yeah.
In terms of working with his hands to do models and
he's
sculptures.
Yeah, he's really good with like origami. Like our uncle's really good with origami and actually has a lot of books. Read his Wikipedia page, Peter Engel. You guys better get his book. But he's like actually one of the best people in the world for like origami. Like even I went to a bookstore once in Hong Kong and they were like, oh my god, you're Peter Engel's brother and want a picture with my dad. It's so funny. Yeah. And then our mom used to work for like the Canadian consulate. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. She got off work really early.
To take care of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
But honestly, for my creative side, I don't really know. I just feel like since I was young, I was so into
You're just super
fashion,
fashion.
art. I don't even know where it's from. I think it's from my childhood friend, like Stephanie. Who, it was like we were just so into American culture, like first from the internet, because there wasn't like our TV.
We never had any cable.
We never had any cable, and
we only had 4 channels.
Yeah, like all like Hong Kong local channels. So it wasn't from the news, and we didn't listen to the radio. So it's just like a lot from the internet.
Yeah,
but it's just us searching
for
ourselves.
Like, American music and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just, because Lorna we took all the similar like extracurricular activities mostly, same classes.
except for
but
swimming.
we ended up very different.
Yeah. Like, I'm so artsy and my brother's really not artsy at all.
Quantitative side.
Yeah.
Just joking. But
And yeah, we're actually quite different. Except I just laugh at all his jokes.
So what type of music do you listen to when you were younger?
So first I actually started listening a lot to like R&B. I love R&B, like Wyclef Jean, like Sweetest Girl, that song is so good. Oh. And then I listened to stuff like Catalina, Line Up, oh so good. And then Cherish, lots of Destiny's Child, Beyonce B-Day album, I know all the songs on there.
Oh yeah.
And then early Rihanna, when she was doing that Umbrella song. Even kind of before that, Chantel T-shirt, whoa, even talking about this makes me so happy. But I love all this music. I don't know how I found it. I was mostly CDs. The first CD I owned, the first CD I owned was Sierra Goodies. I love Goodies. I love 1-2 Step. Yeah, I listened to a lot of that R&B before. I didn't really listen to it now. I don't know. It doesn't give me the same feeling that those R&B songs they gave you. Even like Independent Girl. I think it's Neo. I forgot the song name, but that song. Oh.
So how do you start listening to electronic music?
I remember I was in this like business summer camp and a lot of people there started playing. Actually, I didn't realize it until I'm like telling you guys that this is actually how I found it. That was like the beginning of EDM, and like one of the guys, I asked him like where he got his music, and it was like from Fresh New Tracks or something.
Oh, I remember you introduced me to that before.
And then that's how I found like Avicii, Levels, some other, was it Tiesto or David Guetta? Or I think it was Calvin Harris, but a lot of those people. Like I remember sitting in my grandma's place in New York and listening to Level and was like, this is a song.
You were so cool.
I was listening to it by myself. Oh. And then I remember someone posted on Facebook like Party Rock Anthem, LMFAO, and I was like, this song is so good. So I was listening to, I didn't like focus so much on that. I was still listening back then to even some like Avril Lavigne, Kelly Clarkson, singer. Oh yeah, Lindsay Lohan, when she had her music career.
Hilary Duff.
Yeah, Hilary Duff's a huge part of my life.
What's her fake name?
Lizzie McGuire. Like Lizzie McGuire, Mary-Kate Ashley, like love all these people.
Turns out they're the same person.
One day my goal is to interview Hilary Duff. Like that's literally all I want because that would tie in my whole life. Oh, and I was also listening to a lot of JoJo, which I'll talk about the story later of my JoJo interview, but that blew everything.
So what did you want your career to be at that point?
For some reason, I really wanted to get into finance. I don't even know why. We didn't even really have that like finance people in our family.
Guess I was just
money hungry. But then I did like an anti-money laundering internship for like Svenska Handelsbanken. This
Come again?
Svenska Handelsbanken. This like a Swedish bank. And it sounds a lot cooler than what it was actually. It was like going through all these people to see who's probably like fraudulent or whatever. I remember like dressing up so corporate, you know, with those pantsuits and button down shirts, and didn't really feel like it was me, but who knows, I was so
like a finance god.
God. But I just continued on. I didn't even know and then I applied to schools in the US. Like I knew for sure that I wanted to be in the US because our dad's American, and I was just not interested to go to college in Hong Kong. There were only like 3 good ones, and like I don't know, I wanted to be a place where there was a campus, like a school feeling, like, you know, American movies where they're like, this is college, and I felt like I wanted to live through that. I ended up going to Northeastern, and actually I was an honor student and got a lot of scholarships. I mean, I was a really like studious kid, so, you know, tried really hard in school. I majored in marketing and minored in international affairs. I knew for sure I wanted to do business because it was something that was like I understood easily. And in like high school, I did a lot of business.
Oh yeah, you did your laptop case.
Yeah, I did like a laptop case company, and everyone wanted me to be CEO.
CEO, founder and CEO.
Yeah, and then international affairs, like it kind of stemmed from my interest in geography, like. Oh, I don't know, I just love all the studying cultures. I feel like this interest I can like track back down just because of our dad. And at a young
Travels a lot.
yeah,
Actually,
but
we traveled a lot as kids.
yeah,
so
but at a
maybe
young age, when he was like 18, he was like already fascinated by Asian culture. Like everything, he speaks like 4 Asian languages. Like he literally can pick up an Asian language like that. Just him moving to like first Taiwan to study abroad in New Zealand and then moving to Hong Kong. And he spent most of his life in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Now like
at this
20,
point, yeah.
30 years, like so long, and his Chinese is fluent.
Yeah,
like
more
people
than 30 years,
yeah,
yeah.
like people like on the phone for him, like they call him and they literally think he's like from China, and it turns out he's like a white guy.
From here.
Yeah, from New York. But he's always been so fascinated in cultures, and so is my mom. They like to travel a lot and bring us with them.
Mom also speaks 5 languages.
Yeah, our mom also speaks out, but that's like more common. Also, my mom, this is why I posted the Philippines vlog, but my mom grew up in Philippines and she like moved there when she was younger and then moved back. When I was in college, I did a lot of study abroads. Like Boston was so brutal for the weather.
I feel like
when
Lauren barely
like
spent any time at Northeastern.
Yeah, because the weather was brutal, but I really liked like Northeastern. Like I know a lot of people didn't like their college experience, but I love school, and I don't know, I feel like Northeastern was a match for me because of all the study abroads, and also there's a co-op program which I'll get into. And I feel like I'm just like giving an ad to this Northeastern school for you guys going to high school. I did a study abroad in Geneva, like the UN. Like that was like wow. Like, when I figured out that my school had United Nations like study abroad, so I was like, I have to get this. So I did like all I can to like get in. In the end, I did, and it was 3-4 months in Geneva, Switzerland, and we met with a lot of like diplomats, people.
Diplomats, yeah.
Diplomats, people like policymakers, like heads of state, and we talked a lot about like disarmament, gun control, nuclear weapons, and it was just so cool being in the building and having like just being in the environment that people make like world-changing policies. And again, it sounds like a lot of things blew my mind, but that really blew my mind. And I was like, wow, like honestly, sometimes if it wasn't for all my curious and like creative or business stuff, I might be doing something. I don't know if it would be like politics, but something, you know, that with my international affairs degree. Also study abroad in Sydney, and that was actually really cool.
Australia.
Met a lot of producers that I really loved.
You did some shoots there.
Yeah, and like Basenji, Cosmos Miller, I watched the interview. Yeah, it was really cool, like just meeting and hanging out with them, like going to Bondi Beach. At that point, I was photography club president. I did a lot of setting up stuff. Like I brought a lot of guest speakers in that were like photo retouchers or even like food photographers. And we also went on a lot of like photo walks. So it's really fun to have like a photography community. Sometimes I would teach like retouch tutorials. And then as I was saying with like my school's co-op program, so basically we would spend 6-month long really intensive internship. Like basically you're working there for half a year, and a lot of these places could hire you at the end. I mean, you're doing it so they can hire you. A lot of internships, like it's just fun, but this is like the employer knows that they want to hire you also. So the first internship I got was with Comcast, and it was like this smaller startup division of Comcast.
Where was Comcast again?
Comcast is based in Philly.
Oh, you're in Philly?
No, I was working the smaller division.
Oh.
I don't know, I was always like pretty good at math. Like
Yeah.
it's something that came pretty easy to me. I did some like, you probably wouldn't even remember this, but back then I did some math competitions. This is kind of like a data analytics thing. I mean, I could go on and on because I really like data analytics, but it was like sales, like marketing, but then also like consumer data. I know a lot of like news stuff, like talk about blah blah blah, consumer data, but that's kind of what I did. And then my internship after that, co-op after that, was with Weber Shandwick, which is
New York.
in New York. These were both in New York, which I'll get into, but the Weber Shandwick one was doing also data analytics. So I worked on accounts like Pons and Praft. It was some really big accounts, and I did a lot of like reports, like making PowerPoints, like giving them suggestions how to optimize certain like social media or like campaigns in general.
So how was your time in New York?
In New York was the first of a lot of things. So first time I met Brett, who's a really integral part of this interview. And I interviewed him, Brett Blackman. Or we found each other online somehow, I think through Instagram. Like, I shot someone he knew, or I worked with one of his clients, something like that. And then when I was in New York, I finally met with him after like a few months to a year, and he introduced me to Manila Killa, AOB. It's a lot of the Moving Castle people, and that's also how I met RoboKid, Josh Pan, Jai Wolf, all these people within the same summer. So we're talking about July 2014, and at that point we were all just starting out. Like, we had little shows in Philly that it was mostly just our friends, and New York. We played at Slake, and I photographed everything, and that was so fun. I was still, at that point I was also, like, when I was in Hong Kong I was doing some like event photography, so I actually really like event pictures and doing that.
Yeah, you shot for Fly a lot.
Yeah, so there were like 2 clubs in Hong Kong that I shot for, Fly and Volar. For my event style pictures I like Cobra Snake, he's a LA based photographer.
Tell me about the first concert you went to.
So the first concert was Floss. That was in Boston. I brought that up to him in the interview. I was like, I saw you. And that was so cool because in Hong Kong we never had people like come perform. They're only like classical musicians or like ballet.
The huge mainstreams.
Yeah, and
Huge.
We didn't really care about like huge pop singers or anything. So no one really that I would listen to. So Floss was honestly the first like concert that I paid a ticket and went to see. It was such a crazy show. They're starting out. It was a Paradise Rock Club, I think, and they flipped the decks or whatever. The table collapsed. Like, it was still like early beginnings for them, and that was so cool. And I was just like, wow, I listened to you guys and you're right in front of me, like as if they would have like body doubles. I'm like, oh my god, they're not even a body double. And I saw like Slow Magic in Boston. So actually that's why I'm so happy to finally interview them.
So how about the JoJo interview?
So JoJo, like people from Atlantic. Also at this point, or like for 2 years before this point, I was doing a lot of stuff for Seaheads magazine, which is an Austria-based magazine. I was like contributing a lot of stuff, or like doing a lot of interviews. So that's how I got my foot in the door for interviewing. And for the JoJo interview, they hit me up. I was still in Boston at this time. They're like, she's in New York. And I didn't even say that I was in Boston. Like, I was like, okay, I'll be there. Let's hope this works out. So I booked my bus ticket there and back on the same day just to interview her. Like, didn't even stay over. And it was grueling because it was like
8 hours.
8 to 9 hours and 10 hours transportation within the same like 24 hours without even sleeping. And I interviewed her and I was like, wow, my life is fulfilled. Like, at that point I'm like, this is success.
So how did you start getting into interviews?
So for interviews, I did a lot via email initially because I was so shy. Like, that's also one thing. When I was younger, I was extremely shy. Like, I was even shy to order like food at a restaurant.
I had to order for you.
This is like when I was way young. Yeah, like on the phone I was like, I can't do this, and I just gave it to my brother. And so a lot of things I was doing via email, and I was just not really getting the responses that I wanted. So also at this point I was working really closely to Mike Green, who went with me to a lot of interviews, and he was normal, like confident. Like, I just wasn't, like, I was just kind of shy. One day we were like, I want to do this interview like audio recorded, but then I couldn't do it. So I'm like, Mike, please, I beg you, like, come with me to this interview and like, let's record it. Even the JoJo one, like, I hate myself because he helped me like ask the questions, and I was like doing more like reply stuff, but I wasn't asking the main questions, so that kind of sucked. But I don't know, it's like everyone grows. Then I started being more confident, like, you know, it's not that bad. I could do audio recording, like, it's not that hard. So between the time I did that, I just learned a lot more of like how to keep a conversation going, I guess. Then I graduated with the worst blonde hair ever. Like, I'm gonna put a picture here, but it was like,
it looks so bad.
So bad.
The good thing was we could see Lauren from like 2
2
miles away.
Like my graduation, so like they could see me when I was like
was
getting my diploma. And then moved back to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So-
Right after you graduated.
Yeah, and then I got a job in Hong Kong doing data analytics for like a media company that I actually really like. It was really cool, like also optimizing. All I do is optimize
SEO.
numbers. I also taught myself SEO, so I'm really into that stuff. If you want to, talk to me about this type of thing, I keep on top of all the SEO. For you guys who don't know what's SEO, it's like search engine optimization, but it's something that I find really interesting. So I do a lot of like reporting, which means like going through page views, site views, like bounce rates, the type of content to write about, all these types of things. But at the same time, when I was in Hong Kong, I stumbled upon No Jumper and a lot of other just YouTube stuff. Before I didn't really even watch like that much, but now I really got more into like all these media companies. I just say No Jumper's Media now, conducting a lot of these interviews. And I was just sitting there at work, like listening to all these interviews. And then I was like, oh, what if I did this with electronic artists? And then I felt like, it's so cliche, but I literally was like, why isn't anyone doing this? Like, I felt like a light bulb, like, someone needs to do this.
You felt like a light bulb.
I felt like a light bulb. Ding! And I was like, oh, and then every single moment I was there when I found this idea, I was like itching to go to the US because no one
to interview in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Also, for the Sidewalk Talk interviews, I first started it on my other page where I interviewed a lot of like Hong Kong supermodels because at that time I already knew like a bunch of people in the fashion industry. Yeah, and also Olympic athletes, so that was really fun.
You interviewed High Brothers.
Yeah, it was so cool interviewing Olympic athletes because I interviewed a lot of the swimmers and I was on the swim team and these were people that I looked up to and I was actually hearing their life story. But it never really gained traction in Hong Kong, I feel like.
Yeah.
A, the interviews were conducted in English, and B, I don't think they use YouTube as a source of like media yet. It's more of like funny skits.
Yeah, that's true.
Things. So it never really gained traction. But I knew with everything that's going on in the US, with all these rap, hip hop things, I was like, why isn't anyone doing this for electronic or pop artists, kind of? Which is, every day I was there, I was like, oh my god, I need to go to the US, I need to go to the US. So at that point, a lot of my friends from the Northeast moved to LA, like a lot of the moving castle people. So I decided,
Stars were aligned.
I gave myself a 1-year ultimatum. So I worked in Hong Kong for a year, and then I asked my boss, can I come to Hong Kong? Can I come to LA? Can I come to LA, but still work like part-time, so I can get income and still do what I like, and also I really like working with them. And my boss said yes, thank you. So I moved out here into an apartment here, and then because I already knew so many people from interviewing for 3-4 years and also had help from like C-heads to set up a lot of my early interviews, every day I was doing other than the days I was working part-time still for data analytics, I still do that now. And I was doing so many interviews, like sometimes even 4 a day, like I was so crazy back then. And then...
Remember you asked me what should I call?
Yeah.
This thing, and you're like Sidewalk Walk.
Yeah, so I was like,
Talk.
there's so many, I wanted something like street, like hype, I don't know. Sidewalk Talk was like, I don't know, something that was easy to remember, nothing like too crazy, like I don't want something too...
It also rhymes.
Yeah, Sidewalk Talk, you say it so many times and your tongue gets twisted. Sidewalk Talk. The first interviews I did was still in Hong Kong. I was lucky that Crywolf came to Hong Kong. We shot it with an iPhone and it was so bad, the sound, but he was so cool, and we did it like on the busy street in Hong Kong because you can't really find a quiet street that easily, and it just looked, man, you guys need to see it. The video looks like a potato. It really looks so bad, like a microwave potato. And then I also interviewed Super Sam. Like, this is back when they don't even know what I was doing, so really thank you guys. And one of the first few interviews I did in LA were with Sweater Beats and Manila Killa. Also thank you guys, because at that point, like, I didn't really even have anything out there, so they just kind of trusted me, like, okay, we'll do this interview. So thank you guys so much, really mean it. And then with Has, I did like the Getter interview, and that was when people started like watching the channel, and he also said it was like his best interview. I was like, wow, this is huge for me. Yeah, like he called this his best interview, and he's done so many interviews, and I think it was just like this walking and talking, and I decided to do this walking and talking because I'm a shy person, and I know that this format would look so awkward like on a couch. Like, shout out to those people who can really make a couch interview like look comfortable, but it would be so awkward for me. So I decided that I would want to do these interviews like with the setup walking and talking, because it also relaxes you. You're looking around, like right now I'm like looking everywhere, and it's more of a conversation. And then also when I was in Hong Kong, I started doing a lot of vlogging. So we vlogged so much together. We did a lot of food vlogs. We did a lot of food tasting. I did a lot of fashion blogging. I went to a lot of like events, parties, but like all in fashion. It was kind of exciting time in Hong Kong, and it was something that I looked forward to every day after work.
You were so busy.
Yeah, and then I also put out a video every day, and it was either with my brother, and we spoke Cantonese in those videos, and people loved it because there wasn't really anything that was Cantonese content on YouTube. And also people really like seeing our lives in Hong Kong, because there literally is no like daily vlogger in Hong Kong, and people really like seeing what our lives are like. I also did like a meetup with the people who watch my channel, so that was really nice. And it was kind of like a community towards the end of people who A, had family in Hong Kong, or B, was curious to visit. So that was the kind of fan base that I had back then. My brother and my dad are really funny, so people really like watching their sense of humor. So that's how I got my start on the whole video thing, and knowing how to crank out videos really quickly, and also just figuring out the whole vlog setup.
So talk about all the channels you've had.
So I've only had 2 channels. So it was my main Lauren Engel one, which I post a lot of our stuff, and then I realized, like, I think I put the Cry Wolf one there, or maybe the So Super Sam, but I really wanted something to split my life and Cantonese videos in Hong Kong to all the music stuff, and like make it more serious, well shot, because those were like, I didn't know how to color correct video, and I don't know, I'm so about the color correction, so I didn't really want it to mix. That's why I decided to start my Sidewalk Talk channel. I feel personally that a lot of hip hop and rap, they're really good with media. Like, there are a lot of interviews, there are a lot of cool, just everything, videos with them, but there just wasn't that much in like the electronic community. And it was something that I've been listening, I didn't even talk about it that much in this interview, but I've been listening to it so long, and I was like, how is anyone not like interviewing these people? So that's how I set all this up. And then I just, because I'm a photographer and I like learning about the industry as a whole, that's why I decided to bring in managers, like I want to bring in A&Rs, a lot of photographers, videographers, because I wish there was like a video platform for me back then, like someone would interview me about my photography. I also had a lot of pictures published in like Vogue France, Harper's Bazaar, like High Snob, Hypebeast, a lot of these magazines, but then it was just like, it came up, but then I didn't really talk about it, but I wanted to talk about like how I got my pictures in Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and everything. With Sidewalk, I wanted to be more of a whole network with different shows. So what I realized is, because Sidewalk is so long with like the 30-minute interviews, that I want something shorter. So that's why I decided to do the trivia and have you guys come in and answer questions, and that's just kind of a cool thing that we're gonna have with like seasons and episodes, and have like a winner. And then I decided to start the show talk. So my goal would be to cover every single festival. I know it sounds crazy, but that's a goal, to cover every single festival in the world and have people submit content, or have like exclusive or just content in general from videographers, photographers. That it was just like the one-stop shop kind of for all festivals and cool events that were being put on. And then I also want to start stuff like closet tours or essentials, because a lot of people I've interviewed have such cool style, and fashion is a big part of my life. Also, shout out the Reddit community for sharing a lot of my interviews. I'd say like 80% of the interviews are on there, and it was like the first time that people appreciated, because I interviewed people like 4 years before, but just like written and text interviews, And like text interviews, you don't really get feedback or like people like saying they appreciate it. Like when's the last time you reached out to someone who wrote a blog post, you know? And that was the first time that I felt something, and I was like, wow, like it's crazy. I interviewed 4 years, and now like even after one interview, people are like saying they like it. So that's how it shows that media is changing. Now people really appreciate video content. And also for the people who asked about my gear, I'm using a Canon. I think this is a M3 with a Rode Mic Video Pro Plus. This kind of selfie stick that I bought in Hong Kong. It's just like a stick. It goes so long. It's like 2 meters long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need a drone because you can just use the selfie stick.
And then for my camera now, I still use a Canon 5D Mark II, which I got when I was 17. And then I recently got a Canon 80D, which is so light, and I use it for all my show coverage.
How do you feel like you've grown since you were younger?
Like so much more confident in a good way that like I'm not shy. Like it's a huge step for me to like do this video thing. Like you wouldn't even think that I'd be doing like I would never even be thought of like being an interviewer. Like that was I was always someone who would be working at an office like data analytics that no one, it's just a job that no one really like.
No need to put yourself out there.
Yeah, exactly. And also I feel like I've gotten more creative in a good way. Like I love thinking about show ideas. I love thinking about how to shoot something.
So what does success look like to you?
Being able to think of an idea that excites you so much, or a passion, and then like seeing it come to life. Like it's so different, the feeling that I've been doing to these sidewalk talks to all the different photographies I was doing. Like it's something that I feel like, wow, I really want to, like, hopefully my whole life is like just doing sidewalk talks. Like for photography, I love it, but I was never gonna be like a freelance photographer, or like I like doing interviews, but it didn't click to me. But this is something that really, really clicked to me, and I feel like I feel like success every day in a little way with like being able to put out an interview. I'm like one step closer, I'm one step closer, and I feel like every day that I've just been able to do it has been like, you know, little success that leads to big success one day, hopefully.
So what do you want to be remembered for?
So I've been thinking about this question so much because I ask it every day, and sometimes people like ask me after the interview and I'm like, wow, I really need the answer to this. And then I randomly think about when I shower, or when I'm like on my way to groceries, and I feel like I finally thought about it, and it's sharing culture and knowledge. So that's like something that I realized that a lot of the things in my life have been centered around these two things. First thing with the culture is that since I was young, with all the geography and like the UN stuff that I did, and also music, like that's why I asked a lot about like their upbringing. Like it's kind of like learning about their family, culture, society, all of this stuff. Like I want one day sidewalks to be more than music, so like about culture and then also knowledge. Like I like asking people, like even photographers, like what did they learn? What did you learn from this? Do you have tips for this? Because every single person I interview, I want to learn something new from them. I want to learn not like a skill, but also like a life lesson, you know? So I hope that every time you watch my interviews, you learn something about a different culture, or something about a new fact, or a new knowledge that you just like picked up from these interviews. So, and it's not just interviews, it's also like everything else that I want to do. Even with photography, sharing what it's like I recently went to Bhutan, and I just kind of want to share more about what it's like living there, how different society is there. So those are what I want to be remembered for, just sharing these values. So
good job.
Hope you guys like this. It's really long. I'm about to eat lunch now. My brother's really hungry.
Starving, I'm hangry.
Aww. And then you can finally meet him. I'll actually link back below to my personal channel, so if you guys are curious about the funny stuff, and also hearing us speak Cantonese.
Oh yeah.
So
those OG
cool
vlogs of me eating spicy chicken wings and dying.
Love you guys. Bye.